All right, 1 Kings chapter 20. Let's call this one Through the Eyes of the Prophets. Mercy for what? Because in this chapter, we are going to get a chance to see God show Ahab some mercy after he begins the chapter by bullying the bully, as we mentioned at the end of the last chapter, in response to Ahab partnering with Jezebel to essentially bully and really kill a lot of God's prophets. He is now going to bully Ahab through the king of Syria, Ben-Hadad, who is going to bring an army to Ahab's doorstep, along with some messengers who are going to say, look, your silver and your gold, that's mine. Oh, and not only that, your best wives and your best kids, they're mine too. And I thought it was interesting for them to say, your best wives and your best kids, because he's like, you can keep the bad ones. Anyway, the bottom line is Ahab does not have the same energy for Ben-Hadad that he had for Elijah. See, because he chased Elijah and he persecuted the prophets, but he is going to fold up in front of Ben-Hadad and be like, they're yours. So after folding up that quickly, Ben-Hadad is going to have second thoughts and be like, wait a minute, I didn't take enough. And so he's going to send messengers back. He's going to be like, look, anything that I even think you like, I'm taking that too. At which point Ahab is going to find a backbone. He's going to listen to his counselors. He's going to be like, nah, that's too much, bud. And so he is going to send a response being like, look, I told you could have all my gold and my silver and my best wives, but now you're just trying to clown me. And so Ahab is going to find at least enough courage to put up a fight, at which point Ben-Hadad is going to be like, okay, fine, it's on. And so they are going to square up in battle, at which point God is going to send a prophet or a man of God to Ahab to say, you see this great army assembled before you? They're yours. That's Ahab's mercy. He doesn't deserve it, especially for the way that he is persecuted and partnered in killing God's prophets, but God is going to cut him a break and give him a second chance anyway. And so they're going to go to battle this first time, but even though they are going to defeat the Syrian army, it is not going to be the last time because they are not going to totally defeat them. And so Ahab is going to get a word of caution. Be careful as to how you handle this because they are going to be back. And in fact, they are, because the Syrians are going to basically congregate around an excuse. Their gods are stronger in the hills, and our gods are stronger in the plains. So next time, if we bait them out into the plains, that excuse God is going to greet with a second defeat in battle, specifically sending another prophet to Ahab to say, since they're making excuses, we're going to defeat them on any turf they so choose. And so this time, it'll be a battle on the plain that Ben-Hadad is going to lose again. This time, Ben-Hadad is going to be the one who folds up. And so Ben-Hadad sends messengers to Ahab to say, spare some change? Actually, more like, are you willing to spare my life? To which Ahab is actually going to reply, yeah. However, Ahab is not a great guy, as we've already seen. And so after sparing Ben-Hadad's life, he is going to run into a man who presents himself as one of Ahab's servants who was put in charge of a prisoner that he let escape. And so he is going to say that he took this prisoner on the vow of his life for the life of the prisoner if he were to let him go. And so now he is in peril of losing his life. And Ahab, the one who has just let Ben-Hadad go, is going to say, you judge it yourself. Time to die. And so understanding that God has just given Ahab mercy twice after he was quivering, ready to give over his gold, his silver, his wives, and his kids to Ben-Hadad, he now has no sympathy for one of his own servants who didn't try to intimidate him at all. But Ahab still seems unmoved by the fact that this man needs mercy just like he did, reminding me of a story from Jesus' ministry where he talks about a man who goes into his master in Matthew chapter 18 with a debt he cannot repay, a huge debt. And after being shown mercy and being forgiven that debt, he goes out and finds one of his fellow servants who owes him much less money, a fellow servant to which he shows no mercy. Jesus describes that man as wicked, and Ahab seems to be giving us an illustration of that same principle, begging the question for us. When God shows us mercy, he's showing us mercy for what? See, because God willing, we will not follow in the footsteps of Ahab, appreciating the abundance of God's mercy, but being really narrow and selective in the ways in which we show mercy to others. Maybe being more inclined to show mercy to people with clout as we overlook as insignificant those who can't really help us. And so understanding that God willing, we will not follow in Ahab's footsteps, especially because in the next chapter, we're going to see that this could have simply been a mistake, but Ahab is going to let us know that it wasn't a mistake. It was a lingering character defect as we look to 1 Kings chapter 20 and once again ask the question, mercy to Ahab for what? And looking at the story of Ahab and Naboth's vineyard.